Welcome to Heart, where we break the silence, bridge the gaps, and bring real conversations about mental health to the forefront. I'm your host, Leigh Ioffe, founder and director of The Long Short Road. My guest today is Chaya Hott. Chaya is a certified grief educator and trauma coach dedicated to supporting bereaved women through the profound pain of loss. As the founder of Jewish Grief Groups, she offers support groups and workshops for those navigating grief, offering understanding, community, and healing. Chaya, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm honored and excited to be here. Thank you.
Me too. The feeling is mutual. So could you start by sharing with our audience what led you to founding Jewish Grief Groups? Personal experience, lived experience, what was it that brought you to this role? And how have you seen your personal lived experience shape the support that you offer to other people?
It's such a great question because I think anyone that is in this type of a space doesn't wake up one day and say, I have a great idea. Let me go into the grief space. I don't think it works that way. So I definitely have my own story. Basically, I experienced a stillbirth 5 years ago. This week was his fifth birthday. But before that, I had been through a medical journey of not being able to grow my family due to a medical condition, which was a mystery for years. And so I was dealing with the loss of all my fertility years, which I didn't know it at the time was also grief.
Yeah.
And so every time a baby was born in the family, it was hard on me. I stopped going to like my nephew's brissom. It just, I couldn't do it. And then my doctor gave me the green light to try for one more pregnancy, getting that I was getting older and I was stable for over a decade. And it was the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic. And while the world was literally upside down and in chaos, my own personal life also turned upside down with the stillbirth of my first baby boy. And we had, I married a husband who was grieving. He was still in early grief. His father had passed away less than 2 years before we had gotten married. So having a baby boy was something we always wished for. That's a normal thing that people do. They name after, it brings comfort. So we were really excited and anticipating this baby boy. And before we could even blink our eyes, it was all over. And we lost him at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. So that began it really catapulted me into a real, I'm not even going to call it a healing journey because in the beginning, you're nothing healing. You're just grieving. You're a mess. It just was really, really hard on me and my family. Plus, of course, the whole world was in disarray. So it was like trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. So I, thank God, got approval to try for one more pregnancy. And that resulted in another miscarriage, a recurrent loss. And then from there, thankfully, I was given the green light by, I don't even understand how, given my situation today, like I was given the green light to try for one more baby. And we do have our little baby boy who is named after our father-in-law. And he's going to be turning 4, God willing, in a few weeks.
Wow.
So the thing is that after my son was born, people don't talk about how the second year of grief could be much harder than the first year. And so that's what I was experiencing. I was experiencing PTSD with my newborn baby. I was a new mom coupled with my second year of grief. They were 13 months apart, so it was pretty close with everything. And I was getting told by people things like, why are you still struggling? You have another baby now. Or like, God sent you a perfect replacement. Or like, go to see a therapist. Like, as if like what I was experiencing was not normal,
Mm.
right? Like, go fix your grief, like, go get help. I just was really not in a good place and triggered by everything and everyone. And my journey slowly evolved. And I was asked actually by one of the organizations that I come work for them, I guess coming on their support groups, which was an integral part of my support system. They saw what I had to offer to their community and asked if I would become a case manager and start helping people through their loss. So that was when 2.5 years ago, I started giving back. And simultaneously, I felt like I had no schooling, no training in this arena. And I felt like I should go back to school So I didn't go to college, but I took two different courses over 2 years. So 2 years ago, I took a trauma life coaching certification. And then a year ago, I took my grief educator certification. And it was so incredible because not only was I getting the education and the knowledge that I needed in order to properly help others, it gave me the most validation ever that what I was experiencing was 100% normal. There was
Mm.
nothing wrong with me. There was nothing that needed to be fixed. An abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is a normal reaction.
Right,
All I was experiencing was grief.
right,
And the biggest issue for me in my grieving journey and my healing journey was acclimating to a society that really didn't understand grief.
right,
Before my stillborn son was even buried, I was told by a very close family member, and of course, I share this only for awareness and education, and they mean well. Every single person that has triggered me always has meant well.
right.
I was told to move on before the burial even took place.
Mm-mm.
And I was like, wait, what? But this only gave me a taste to the society that I would be dealing with that is ill equipped, that has so much misinformation about grief. So going back to school, taking these courses, not only was validating for me, but this is what inspired me to open Jewish grief groups because I vowed to give back and to support people in a way that I would normalize grief and not hurry anyone to move on or let it go or put it down. Like all of those type of things, we try to inspire and give people hope. When a person is in early grief, and early grief could last for around 2 years for the average person, they don't want to hear move on,
Right.
let go of your loved one.
Yeah.
All they need is validation and support. And so this is what inspired me to open Jewish grief groups. It was also a way for me to turn my pain into purpose.
Right.
Viktor Frankl has a whole book about, a man's search for meaning. And David Kessler has a whole book about finding meaning. We talk about the 5 stages of grief, but there are missing pieces in that. A huge chunk of grief is turning your pain into purpose. Like many people that come through this life, I think every person that comes through this life has a
Right.
story of their own. It's not, okay, this happened to you. It's what do you do with this now? Part of healing is when you do something with your pain, you do something with everything that you've been through to now help yourself and help others. And this is what Jewish grief groups is for me. It's a way to turn my pain into purpose. And it's a way for me to help others in a way that I felt I needed in my darkest days.
Wow. I have tears in my eyes and I have chills. I, I mean, and I don't usually go this personal, but as someone who's experienced pregnancy loss, I feel like you're speaking directly to my heart, really. And I'm first of all, I'm so sorry for your experiences of loss and also the responses that you experienced, but I'm so profoundly like impressed and grateful that you turned your pain into purpose and are using that as an opportunity now to help so many people access this part of themselves that in many ways we do shame people who are grieving. We make it so we limit people who are grieving as saying you have to move on now. And that's not how it works. So actually this perfect lead into my next question is can you share a little bit about the importance of destigmatizing grief, especially in the Jewish community? Like as you said, before your stillborn son was even buried, you had a family member telling you that it was time to move on. Like that is so mind-boggling to me. And unfortunately, that's also something that I'm familiar with personally and from working with many people in the grieving space over the years. So I'm curious to hear from you I mean, I guess this is a two-part question. Why do you think that there's such a stigma around grief? And also, what have you been doing to help destigmatize this very important issue that most people, most anyone who's alive who experiences love will also experience loss and grief. So we're basically saying we're going to stigmatize an entire community, like an entire world of people. So how do we undo that?
It's such a great question because I think this is the biggest piece of what many people do today, right? It's like whether you're going through sexual abuse, whether you're going through divorce, whether you're going through pregnancy loss, it's about the feeling alone,
Yeah,
feeling like no one understands you. It's about the stigma. It's about what are people going to think of me now? It's about the shame. So this is a big piece of it. This is not the first show or episode or podcast that I'm doing, because I really felt the need to talk about and bring awareness. Like, don't tell me that God has a plan. I know that. I
Right.
just need your support. I don't need you to preach to me faith and bitachon and emuna, right? So like destigmatizing pain is really a big mission of mine. Um, it's interesting because, right, like when someone says things, right, that trigger you, what is a trigger? It's when it triggers you back to your younger version of yourself and you feel like you can't have a voice. So it goes inward. It triggers you instead of outward. So you might remain silent when someone says something like, "Oh, thank God you're not married anymore because now you're divorced." But you're like, "What do you mean? My life is in shambles. Like, how is this a good thing?" Right? So it's a trigger when we can't talk about it. So breaking the stigma, talking about it, bringing awareness is a huge piece of the healing journey. At least I can say for myself. Here's the thing, and I hate to be morbid, but 100% of human beings are going to die at some point.
Right.
And 100% of human beings are going to experience a grief of some shape or form during their lifetime.
Right.
So whether I read according to statistics, I don't know if it's true, but I read this, that there are 9 million new grievers every single year.
Wow.
Now, yeah, it's mind boggling. So then if
But that also
9 million people are grieving, then where is the proper support?
right.
Right? So talking about it, bringing awareness, and giving proper support is a huge piece of this. Um, Grief is not just about death, right? It actually starts from a very, very young age. And I think this is where the biggest problem is like, where have we gone wrong? If there's loss and death every day, all the time, then why do people feel so alone if this is a standard, universal human experience that many people go through? So, where has this been lost? Why is there so much stigma? So, for starters, right, when you look at, let's say, little children, right, you look at a preschooler, 4 or 5 years old, their cookie falls on the floor and they start crying,
Right.
right? And I've seen this with my own eyes. The child falls at the park, right? Do we validate what they're going through? Do we say, nothing happened? It's okay. You're okay. Get up. That's what we do. Move on. Very well, very good intentions, but we're missing an integral piece, which is the validation piece. In order to move on, in order to move forward, we have to process all of those feelings, all of those emotions. The way to the other side is only through. If
Right.
we're suppressing emotions, if we're teaching the little toddler, don't cry, what are you crying over, right? Then what they learn is to suppress their emotions. But also, what we teach is we teach shame. You're not allowed to cry. In fact, from the moment a baby is born, what do we wait for? We wait for that cry. Crying is healthy. We want that cry, but somehow, somewhere in the early ages, in the early stages, we teach that crying is not okay, that crying is, you're weak.
Right.
When in fact, actually being able to have emotional expression, being able to cry is what's healthy. So
Right.
part of the healing journey, first of all, is like, let's like destigmatize that crying is nothing wrong with you. Actually, when you experience a loss, there's a process to go through. And that means allowing yourself to express and feel and go through it. And when people come across with things like just move on or why are you stuck there, right? What it does is the support shuts down. We
Right.
cannot lean on that person anymore. Grief is like an experiment. Okay, so in the beginning, let's say everyone is there for you. Let me offer you a dinner. Let me come and do this for you. How can I help you? Granted, it's nobody's fault. People have to move on with their own lives as well, right? If we were just giving all the time to other people, then we would neglect our own lives and our own families.
Sure.
So yes, everybody has to move forward with their own lives, despite another person having a challenge, because everyone's got challenges in this world, right? However, for the individual person who's grieving, there's this expression that grief lasts as long as the flower, like until the flowers dry up, which
Mhm.
means the support that lasts is very short.
Yeah.
And so the grief lasts way longer than the people around you are supporting you. So that's one aspect of it. It's no one's fault. It's just life. And the second thing is that when people say comments like, move on, get over it, let it go, or time heal all wounds, or maybe your baby would have been sick, or maybe this would have happened, or maybe this is really better for you,
Right.
right? Then it's that experiment of, can I trust you with my pain? You're out of my circles now, because I cannot trust you with my pain, because you think that I should be letting it go and I should move on. So, okay, well, guess what? Does that help me feel better? No, it doesn't. It just makes me not trust you anymore. So the support system gets smaller and smaller and smaller. My goal, my vision, if you look at my website, jewishgriefgroups.com, we provide support to anyone in need, no matter how long it has been since their loss. The reality is that, right, like you were saying earlier, that if you're going to love, you're going to grieve. Grief does not happen in a vacuum. It does not happen on its own accord. You had to have loved first in order to grieve. So grief is actually something that is sacred. It's holy. It means your heart has love. You know, the Lubavitcher Rebbe teaches that death can only touch the body, but it cannot touch the soul. And so the neshama is eternal. So when someone is grieving, the pain is the connection they feel to that neshama, to the soul, to the person. It's an eternal connection. While the relationship with the body is finished and over, the relationship with the person, the love, the connection is eternal. It's not something that you suddenly from one day to the next turn on a magical switch and you're like, boom, my grief is over.
Right. Right.
Actually, we grieve forever. There's something called mature grief. Once you've processed and excavated all the pain and you've healed from all the things that trigger you and you've done all the therapy work and you come to a place where like you're quote unquote like on the other side, you still never forget your person. You still never forget your challenges, your experiences in life. It actually becomes a part of who you are. It becomes your new foundation. It becomes a part of your new territory, your new soil, your new foundation upon which you build your new life. It becomes part of your mosaic of life, right? When you have a mosaic, you first put in one piece and all you see is that one piece. That's like the grief. Right now, this is the loss. This is all you know. This is all you see. But as life moves forward, we don't say move on. As life moves forward, we create new memories, whether it's with another baby, whether it's through another marriage, whether it's through grandchildren, whether it's through a niece's bat mitzvah or a wedding. We have experiences in life. We create new memories surrounding the loss that is. But does that loss ever get erased? No, it becomes part and parcel, woven into the fabric of who we are today. It doesn't just disappear and go away. It becomes part of your story. So my whole intention of Jewish grief groups is A, to normalize that grief is a normal, natural, healthy reaction to the loss of someone or something important to us. And grief is also a change of expectation, a change from what we thought life would look like to what life actually looks like now. And also that grief has no timeline. Grief, time only gives us the time to work through all of the pain, but it's a forever thing. And so, right, how long is the person going to be dead? How long is this going to be in your life? Forever. So then we can't expect people to move on as if nothing happened. Loss is something that gets integrated. This so-called stage of acceptance, no one ever accepts
Right.
that something horrible happened to them in their life. It's more that we get to a place of reconciliation. We get to a place of understanding, acknowledging and processing that this happened. Not that we're happy that it happened or that we can undo now and go back to the yesteryear and be like, okay, now everything is good and I'm back to normal. There is no back to normal. There's only a new normal. So people are welcome to my support groups and my workshops, no matter if it's been 3 months, no matter if it's been 20 years. And I actually have had a woman come to my workshop. Her loss was 20 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
What an incredible opportunity that even 20 years later, she was able to find a place to be held in her pain. And I actually want to use that to segue into my next question, which is, and I know this from working in suicide prevention and working in suicide bereavement, that communal
Mm.
support and having a supportive environment of people who understand what you've been through is so integral to the healing process. Do you have any, obviously without giving any identifying details, do you have one story that comes to mind, even from your own experience of how being in that communal space has aided the healing process?
So for starters, right, I can only talk for myself, and sometimes things are confidential, right?
Sure, of course.
Um, Community is the only thing that has worked for me. I could not do this alone. It is by reaching out for support, getting the help that I needed. Sorry, not through therapy. It's through community, through friends who understood me, through people who held space for me to process my own pain. We say each person that is going through their own challenge and going through their own grief journey is the expert of their own grief.
Mhm.
We are just here to walk alongside them, to give them a safe space to process all of that they need to process. Grief is not a quick to get to destination.
Right,
It's a journey that takes time to unwrap and evolve.
right.
And
It's
one thing, sorry,
no, go ahead.
no, I would say one thing, you were saying about the suicide prevention and all that, and this is what you mainly do. The reason I wanted to reach out to you was because suicide ideation was something that was very, very strong for me. And when I would actually voice this, that I didn't want to be alive anymore, that I had no reason to live, even though I had a family, the kind of support I would get from individuals was like, oh, like, no, 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 you can't say that. Like,
Right,
no, no.
right,
And so instead of making me feel supported, it made me feel worse. Again, that trust, wouldn't
right,
trust them anymore. What I learned in my certification, actually, that suicide ideation is a big piece of grief, meaning many people, after experiencing a loss, are going to go through suicidal ideation. It doesn't mean that they actually have a plan, but this feeling, if trauma creates these negative self-cognitions,
right,
trauma creates these negative beliefs within ourselves. And a big piece of it after loss is we lose the self. So
right,
when we lose the self, we feel worthless, we feel nothing, we feel like there's no purpose for us to live here anymore. And so that, right, grief needs to be witnessed. It needs a voice. So
right,
when a person expresses this, it's their way of saying, I this pain is too much. I cannot bear it. I can't do it alone. So instead of getting that support, we get shame and isolation and rejection.
right.
So that's a big piece that I wanted to talk about because it is very normal when
Yes.
someone experiences a grief that there's two questions that when we work with clients that we ask them. Number one, would you have these thoughts if your loved one was here with you?
Mm.
And if the answer is no, then you know this suicidal ideation is a way of yearning. It's a way of longing for their loved one.
Right,
And it's coming out in these thoughts and expression.
right,
And the other thing is, it's a survivor's guilt.
right.
Often, when someone passes away, the survivor's guilt is, why are they the one that's dead? I should be the one that's dead. I feel guilty for being alive. I
Mm.
shouldn't, I like, they didn't deserve this. God should have taken me instead of them. So this too is a normal piece. Again, it's covered in my course because it's a very human response to loss. And so talking about it, I think, first of all, will make people feel like there's nothing wrong with them, right? Going through grief is a mental health challenge. However, it's not because something's wrong with you. It's not because something's defective with you or that you're damaged goods. It means you are grieving the loss of someone or something that was important to you.
Right.
So I just wanted to put it out there. In our groups, you could say it all. There's no judgment, there's no shame, there's no stigma, and all of this is normal, normal, normal in grief.
Thank God that your organization exists, Chaya. Seriously, because as we're talking, I'm thinking off the top of my head of so many people that I've worked with over the years who have experienced loss and have gone through what you're describing of feeling so alone and feeling almost like they're not normal for experiencing a very normal reaction to an abnormal situation. And I'm so grateful that we were able to have this conversation and for our listeners to learn about you, because I know that there are so many people who are listening to this who are saying, this is me. I need this. Where have you been all my life? So thank you. And I want to, as we're wrapping up, a final question for you. Do you have a message of hope to share with anyone who's listening right now who is experiencing grief and feels alone in their experience?
It's such a great question, and I'm so happy that you asked me this. So, first of all, I want to say that for someone who is in early grief, often they're not looking for the hope. They're just looking for validation and someone to sit with them in their pain. So, if this is you and you are not at that point of hearing hope, that's okay. You are normal, and it's okay to feel the way you feel. And it's okay not to have hope in your darkest days. What I do want to say, now that I'm here 5 years in, is that no feeling is forever. Do not give up on yourselves. Your life is not doomed. Healing is possible. No feeling is forever. Do not give up on yourselves. And one very, very, very important element of this is that take all the time that you need. So if you're still struggling, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because you simply are where you are at, and this is your story. Take all the time that you need. And don't give up on yourselves, guys. Do not.
Wow. Chaya, thank you so, so much. I really am so grateful to you. And I personally gained so much from this conversation, and I know that our listeners will too. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Heart to Heart. If you or someone you love is struggling, please know there is hope and help is within reach. Since 2019, the Long Short Road has been walking alongside at-risk individuals, offering trauma-informed programs, a non-emergency hotline, and a community that fosters healing. No one has to go through this alone, and we are here for you. Discover how the Long Short Road is changing lives. Visit www.thelongshortroad.com or email us at info@thelongshortroad.com to learn more. You can be part of this mission. Sponsorship opportunities for Heart to Heart are available. Honor a loved one, support your community, and help us make mental wellness resources accessible to those who need them most. Until next time, remember, love and connection are the greatest healers. This is Leigh Ioffe reminding you, hope is here, healing is possible, and you are never alone. Together, we're walking this long, short road to a brighter future.